Hello, today we are on the 20th question of the LeetCode Advanced SQL 50 list. This is bank account summary number 2. As usual, before looking at the question, let's look at what they give us as data. The first table they give us is called users. It just has a list of people who use this bank. For example, the bank account 90001 belongs to Alice. This bank account 90002 belongs to Bob. And this one belongs to Charlie. And then our second table here is called transactions. This is a list of transactions done by that bank. For example, our first transaction was done by this account, which if we check up here, we know that's Alice. Alice deposited $7,000 into her bank on August 1st, 2020. And then our second transaction is Alice again. She deposited another $7,000 the next month. And then our third transaction is Alice again, withdrawing $3,000 on the next day, September 2nd. And what are they asking for? They want us to find all people who have a balance higher than $10,000. So after all these transactions, if you still have more than $10,000 left, we're going to return you as output. Let's go through an example. We can see our first person, Alice. Again, we know it's Alice because this table, the users table, says that this account is Alice. She had 3 transactions, 7,000, another 7,000, and then withdrew 3,000. So in total, this will be $11,000 left in her bank account. And so that means Alice is one of the people who has more than $10,000 in her bank account, and we will return her. Alice, and then how much money she has. Let's look at the next person. This up here we could see is Bob. Bob only had 1 transaction and all he did was deposit $1,000. He does not have more than $10,000 in his bank account, so we don't include him. And then lastly, Charlie deposited $6,000 twice and then withdrew $4,000. So that's $8,000 left. And we will not add him to our output. And that's all. We now have our list of everybody who has more than $10,000 in their bank account. In this case, it's just Alice, and that's all we want to return. How can we solve this? This question can be broken down into 2 main steps. First, it's important to notice that we want to return the person's name and how much money they have in their bank account. Name and the sum of the amount. We calculated the sum from this column. We added up all the amounts for each person. So we're going to need to use the transactions table to do that. However, the name is in the users table. The transactions table doesn't actually have the name of the person. It just has their account number. To get their name, we check the account number, link it to here, see an account belongs to a certain name, and then return that specific name, Alice. Because we need information from both tables, we're going to have to perform a join to get all of our information in one place. How would this join work? Both tables have an account column, right? That's how we knew this transaction was done by Alice, because this account number matches this account number here. So we can connect these tables on these 2 columns, account and account. So if we join these 2 tables, it'll end up looking something like this. We're going to have everything from our first table, just a copy of the transactions table, and then we're going to take our users table, these 2 same columns, account and name, and what we're going to do now is, it's an account number 9001 here, match it to this row in this table, 9001, and put that here. Same with this row, and again, 90001, match it with the same account number in the users table. Now we have a different account number. If we check the users table for that same account, it's Bob. So we're going to join it to this line. And then continuing on, these next 3 transactions were done by this account, which we see is Charlie. So join it on this line. It'll be Charlie, Charlie, and again, it's Charlie, right? Because these are equal to these. We've successfully joined these 2 tables on the account column in the transaction table and the account column in the users table. And why does this help us? Now everything we need is in one place. We have each transaction. For example, this account deposited $7,000 on this day, but we also have that person's name. We know it's Alice. And now that we have this joint table, we're returning the name column and then how much money they have. Where do we get the name? The name is from this. Our query will just be select name. And then how do we get how much money they have? We're going to sum up everything in this amount column for each account, right? This is one person. This is an account. Sum up all the amounts for this account. Same for this account, 90002. Sum up all the amounts for this one. It's only 1, so it's just going to be 1,000. And then lastly, for this one, we're going to sum up all of these, and this will give us the total amount of money for that person. So our query will now be selecting the name and then the sum of the amount column. It's not just the sum of the amount column, because sum of amount will just add up everything in this column and spit out one number. We want the sum for each of these groups. So we're going to group by the account, right? We want the sum per each account. So group by the account column. And what will this query give us? We'll get each person's name, Alice, and then how much money she has. The next person, Bob, and then the sum of their amount for that account, it's 1,000. And then lastly, Charlie, and the sum of their amount for this account. This is 8,000. And at this point, this is nearly our output, right? Once we have this, all we want to do is just filter the accounts that have more than $10,000 in it. So we're going to get rid of Bob and Charlie, and we're just going to return Alice, and that's it. Now let's hop into code and implement these 3 steps. We're going to join the 2 tables, sum up the amounts of money for each account, and then filter for accounts with more than $10,000. So again, we have 2 tables called transactions and users. We want to join them together. We're going to select everything from our first table and join it to our second table, users. We join them on the accounts. They both had an account column, and we want to combine them wherever they were equal. Let's see what this gives us. Perfect. This join gives us pretty much what we had in our drawn example here. This join table is now what we have. We notice how we have everything from our transaction table, these 4 columns, and then everything from our users table, wherever this was equal to this. So now we know this transaction was Alice, this one was Bob, these 3 were Charlie, and so on. Perfect. Step 2. Now we're going to sum up the amounts for each account number. So now instead of returning everything, we just want to return the name of the person along with how much money is in their account, the sum of the amount column, and we want it for each account. So we're going to group by the account. However, notice there's 2 account columns in this table, in this join table, right? We have the account column from the transactions table and then the account column from the users table. Because we join them wherever they're equal, they're always going to be the same. So it actually doesn't matter which one we group by. We'll just pick the first one. We have to specify one though, because otherwise it won't know which one to use and it'll give us an error. So let's run this and see what we get. Perfect. This is where we're at right now. We have the name of each person and how much money is in their account. Alice has 11,000, Bob has 1,000, and Charlie has 8,000. What do we want? We just want Alice with 11,000. So our last step is now to filter for rows that have more than $10,000, getting rid of these. Now, normally when you think filter, people usually think of the where keyword, where this is less than that or where this equals that. The thing is, in this case, we want to perform a filter after we've performed an aggregate function on the table, right? We calculated the sum of the amount column for each account. So we've aggregated the table, and then we want to filter on the aggregated result. Where only goes directly after the table. So say we're selecting this from transactions where, some condition is met. That's where goes. But in this case, we first want to find a sum and then filter. This is where the having keyword comes in. Having is essentially the same thing as where, it just filters, but it is specifically used after you've aggregated the table. So we're going to say having sum amount, this column is greater than 10,000. See what this gives us? Perfect. Here is our output, Alice 11,000, and here is our expected result. The last thing we need to do is just rename this column. We want to call it balance. So let's rename it to balance, and that should be it. Perfect. Our solution is accepted. It matches. Let's submit. And there you go. Our solution works. That's all. Thank you for watching.